Inflation likely remained elevated and may have reached 9% in February.
President Bongbong Marcos says he does not need special powers to curb inflation.
I do not think that it is necessary to ask for special powers. If we declare, for example, if we declare an emergency, I have already the power to declare an emergency and to control the prices of commodities. So that I don't think there is any need for more than that.
The Bangko Sentral says upward pressures for last month's inflation are expected to have emanated from higher LPG prices as well as elevated prices of food items such as pork, fish, egg, and sugar.
Moving holidays to create long weekends. It sounds simple and of course is welcome news for those who need a break from a stressful work week. But does it make sense to other members of the workforce, especially to employers who need to adjust daily operations and pay? Let's discuss in this episode of the CHIEFS. Good evening, ako po si Robbie Alampay. Welcome to the Friday edition of the CHIEFS. Kasama ko po rito sa studio, Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief ng Philippine Star, and Lucy Cruz Valdez, Head of News 5. CHIEFS, Happy Friday!
Happy Friday!
Sana holiday ngayon.
Holiday economics. Abangan nyo yan yung topic.
Hindi, but of course, pinag-uusapan natin ito. People might get the sense na baka politics na pag-usapan. But we're talking about this one because President Marcos, in declaring February 24 a non-working holiday, resurfaced this point. In fact, this law, di ba? About, ano ba tawag nito?
Holiday economics.
Holiday economics, di ba? And
ang nagpauso niyan si President.
Yes.
Gloria Arroyo.
actually, before that, other Asian countries, I think it was Japan who had a Happy Monday law or something like that. Pagka nalalapit yung holiday, if it's in the middle of the week, i-move mo na lang sa either Friday or Monday.
Ang pagkakamali lang nga doon is yung late na announcement which defeated the purpose.
That's right.
Saka of course, it coincided nga kasi with the first anniversary of the People Power Revolution under this president.
And a lot
Kaya
of
nagkaroon ng mga nagkaroon ng konting kulay.
and a lot of people therefore were reading into that, all of which were valid conversations.
Right.
But huwag natin kalimutan yung holiday economics dito because mayroon naman talagang rational dito. And that's what we want to talk about in this episode. We do want to drill down on holiday economics in particular, what has been the impact, what has been the significance of that, and we will speak to our first guest after a short break. The CHIEFS will be right back.
Holiday economics. How does it exactly benefit the economy? Let's have an expert weigh in. And joining us on the program is Percival Peña-Reyes of the Ateneo de Manila Department of Economics. And believe it or not, we will call him Sir.
Sir.
Simply because that's his nickname.
Sir Percival.
Si Sir Percival.
Oo, di ba? Night na night. Okay, bago tayo magpatuloy, no? We've heard of holiday economics and we know that most of us know that it's supposed to benefit us economically because people will now plan their domestic tourism, whatever, they're going to travel, and so government's going to earn money in the process. But on the other hand, employers complain about too many holidays. Can you explain to us exactly what the cost-benefit of holiday economics actually entails?
Well, yes, I do remember back in college. I won't mention na lang, no? When that was.
Wag na.
Huwag kang mag-alala, pare-pareho lang tayo.
Pero may holiday economics na sa kanila.
But, I think President GMA was the one who instituted that. And the main rationale really is to be able to prop up the economy and induce spending.
Yes.
So this time, really, what we would like to do in the economy, we would like to bounce back, recover. We keep hearing that. Recovery and resilience is something that I hear often when government would go on a campaign to boost the morale, no, of its employees and the private sector.
Yes.
So the rationale really is for us to be able to, like what was mentioned earlier, to time our expenditure on travel. And of course, there would be also spillover effects on other industries. Accommodations, restaurants.
Yes.
So
Transport.
to transport, of
Oo.
course, yes, of course. That would also be a beneficiary in terms of spillover effects. So there are, of course, drawbacks. Some would say that if you keep moving the dates, it would mean that the date itself would lose its significance. So
Oo nga, tama.
yeah, others.
And by
would,
that you mean if the holiday falls on
On a
a
particular
Friday
day,
and
yeah.
that's really or
Birthday
rather
mo,
Saturday.
Wednesday,
Yes.
minove natin sa Monday, di makakalimutan na ng mga tao yung birthday mo.
So
Okay lang.
others would mention nga no, yung significance ng day na yon. Diba?
Yes.
Oo. And also from the employer side, they would cite that we have too many holidays. But that has been a long lament naman po. Oo. But I think in the greater scheme of things,
Oo.
and given the country's situation where we would like to really grow the economy and bounce back, and in fact, no, we're facing headwinds from outside also. There is inflation. We really want to get as much growth momentum as we can.
Sige. Pero sir, yung let's talk about because it's been a while since we were in college nung time ni GMA, di ba?
Yeah.
But what does the data say? Did it work?
Well, I think I haven't really checked the data per se, what the specific contribution of holiday economics would be. But at least as far as theory would go, and what is crucial there is if it is planned properly, that people are given lead time to prepare their activities and really do the spending. I think that would have a stimulative effect.
Oh,
I
kasi
haven't come across a particular study estimating.
Talaga? Pero tangible naman, di ba? You would say it's
Yes.
tangible. We know a lot of friends, even my own children, di ba? Pagka long weekend, markado na yan, nakacircle na yan, and they're starting to plan, punta
totoo
tayo
naman
dito,
yan.
punta tayo dito.
Yeah.
They will have to program. Opo, no? And other things that would also be good, especially now that we're trying to bounce back, reopening the economy. Okay, would also like to entice not just domestic tourism but also foreign tourists, because that would also help in getting revenue, no? Yung important also we get from the traditional sources. No? We have FDI as a traditional source. We have remittances, no, from outside. Also, we would have, spending from tourists. So we also.
Pero this is
Yeah.
mainly domestic tourism eh. Kasi
Mainly,
dito
no,
lang
but,
naman yung holiday economics, di ba? I mean, mga Pilipino rin lang yan eh.
Maganda ko
ang-
sana
oo.
with also we'll be able to attract foreigners din. In
Saka
order to
paano
get
naman yung concern nga ng investors, which Lucci mentioned already, na tumataas daw ang gastos nila, lalo na hanggang...
Kasi doble.
Because ang sinasabi nila, no, you have an entire year, magpaplano ka na ng production,
Yeah.
di ba? And eto na yung yung bala kong gawin. Suddenly, nagkaroon ng bakasyon. Eh, syempre, you have to pay 100% more. At on the other hand, yun namang mga workers, sabi nila, kung minsan yun daw mga employer Wag na lang kami pumasok kasi
Oo.
masyado magastos.
Yun.
Nawawalan naman daw
Totoo
sila.
yan.
In fact, this was one of the complaints nung biglang sinabi ni Bongbong Marcos bakasyon daw yung February 24. Nagreklamo yung ibang minimum wage workers. Bigla daw silang nawalan
Hindi sila
ng
pinapasok.
kita for that day kasi malaki masyado
Yeah, I've been hearing complaints also about that. And, really, the key word that you mentioned, that adverb, suddenly.
Suddenly.
So
Oo.
if we can, as best as we can, plan a year ahead so that we won't be surprised.
So ngayon, merong proposal sa Congress na gawing batas.
Oo.
Para
Yes, I think,
maging yun na nga, definite na yan kung
institutionalized.
ano ba yung long weekends na yan para maplano.
Yes,
So what
yes.
do you think of that proposal?
I think it's sensible because if we are to plan ahead, program it in such a way that we place these holidays near yung mga weekend po, so that we have extended time to do spending. But yun lang, it's a matter of also managing expectations.
Ako naman, parang ang gusto kong malaman, kung kumikita ba tayo sa holiday economics more than kumikita tayo kung regular workday naman yon dahil Saturday. Parang yung talagang yung cost-benefit analysis mo nga, gusto ko i-compare. Mas pabor ba sa atin talaga na mag-holiday economics? Dahil, sabi nga ng mga employers, Pilipinas daw pinakamaraming holiday dahil Holy Week pa lang. Out na yung Holy Thursday, out na yung Good Friday, where in other countries, regular work days yung mga yun di ba? So, yun. So, ako rin ako curious, magkano ba ang babayaran nila sa bawat holiday? Ano tawag doon? Sa bawat holiday na pumasok doon sa holiday economic scheme.
It's interesting because if that will mean added costs for them because they have to pay
Yeah.
Hindi na lang.
in spite of but yun, I don't have
Walang
to be
data
perfectly
nun.
candid, I don't have data
Oo.
or haven't seen data analyzing that.
Kasi tama si Amin, minimum wage ang
Yes.
Yun ho yung
Saka,
ano,
in fact, apart from that, may impact din siya sa transport, yung maliliit na kainan
Oh,
that
right.
cater to all these workers. In fact, kaya tayo nagmadali na buksan yung ekonomiya
yeah.
natin during the pandemic kasi the lockdowns were hurting transport. Yan na nga, yung mga karinderya, yung mga maliliit na retailers.
No work, no pay.
Yan ang reklamo nila So, yan ang isang tanong dyan. Yan na nga, ulitin ko yung tanong ni Luchi. How cost-effective is it?
Well, I cannot really give a direct estimate of what the costs are on the business side. But I think yun lang po na yung maybe from the perspective of our leaders. And
How about the
economic-
experience of other countries? Meron ka ba
Other
naiisip na
countries?
ibang bansa na gumagawa ng ganyan? Kasi sabi nga niya, sabi
Japan
daw nung
does
iba,
that. Japan does that. And I think, if I remember right, when we were there, Thailand does it as well.
tourism nila kasi
Depende, di ba?
napakalakas.
Oo.
Oo, malakas
Depende kung But yung kung yung spending effect,
Yes.
if it induces more spending than what businesses would presumably lose.
benefit from it.
Okay.
I think yun. We have to estimate that.
Sir, speaking of spending, let's zoom out. Let's zoom out a bit. You're from the economics department of Ateneo. So we wanna ask, ano bang indicators natin on our overall economy? Are people? We know people are starting to spend. We know they're going back out to work. Traffic na naman, nakakita mo naman papunta dito sa Mandaluyong. But what other insights are you getting on the reopening of the economy?
Well, if we are to go by things that we often cite in our economic briefings, we deal with the public quite a lot. And three things that matter the most to the average person, the average Filipino. And I attribute this to our senior faculty member and former NEDA Secretary General, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary, Dr. Habito, Shelito Habito, has this so-called PTIC test, yung PTK, presyo, trabaho, kita. And 2 out of 3 indicators in his latest briefing would indicate good news. it's
Okay.
really prices no, that is bad. No? But kita, if we go by GDP numbers, no, faster than expected actually. We were able to outgrow our target. So that's good news. Trabaho, we were able to generate more jobs. So that's also good news. However, if we are to look at the quality of jobs, and there's a bit of a question mark there. No? So it's a qualified good news, no? So to speak. No? So yung ano lang doon, no? Yung nagmamatter talaga sa tao, yung tatlong bagay na.
Yung presyo.
And what is really, yung pagdating dun sa prices and how well we manage it.
Pero yung kita ba, is it
good question.
Is it outpacing the presyo?
Good question because, two things that we want to manage nga rin also, no? Yung utang that we got from, because of, we come from a depleted war chest and we have to manage that, no? And also, itong prices, no? So if we, although brisk as it was, no, yung ating growth, if we do not arrest yung yung inflation na to, we might end up really losing momentum and yun nga po, no, we might be worse off, might be, no, if we fail to address this. And we cannot really attribute it to outside factors.
Okay.
Because we keep conveniently blaming, no, na galing sa labas, no, Russia, Ukraine, etc.
China.
But yung indications, no, really of it being largely food-driven already. Nag-pass-through na po kasi. There's this term called pass-through. Initially, we had fuel, driving it, and then transport. But now it's food-driven. And when it's food-driven, you have to remember
Factor din na yun,
basket of goods, no, consumed by the poor. It's the poor who get hit the hardest. Kaya ho yung yung latest figure, if we look at it by class, 8.7 ang general, no, but if you look at the bottom 30%, I think 9.7% ang kanilang inflation. So it gets, it's po, no. We have to manage that, no, and largely internal po yung problem.
Yan ang
Internal
problema dyan, no?
management.
Since you mentioned that it's food-driven, napakaraming problema ng ating food production sector. So you're in charge of a research department. Meron na ba kayong mga any ideas on how to deal with this? It's pretty complex now. We have to hand it to the government. Medyo mahirap talaga siya. Pero ano yung sa tingin nyo ang pwedeng gawin? Siguro yung mga low-hanging fruits in the short term.
Yung really, and many have been harping about this, and I'm not saying anything new really, to be perfectly candid. Agricultural sector natin It is the sector that employs many people. It's the sector that served as the backbone, no? Especially during COVID. It's the sector that is safest to reopen, and it's the sector where, geographically predominant siya. Unlike in services and industry.
Urban yun.
Urban yun, largely concentrated in 3 regions, no? NCR, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon.
Pero pagka sinabing, maraming tao, in an absolute numbers, marami talaga, di ba? You still have millions of farmers.
Yes.
But when you take it as a percentage of the workforce, parang this government seems to have taken a position that at least in the short term, di ba, na it's the consumer side na mas mahalaga sa amin. The consumer side is a bigger sector that we have to cater to, and masakit man sabihin, the producers are basically saying na we'll try our best na alagaan kayo pero kailangan mauna to dahil ito 90%
talaga.
'di ba? So we understand what they're saying and therefore they take the tack na kailangan muna tayo mag-import para mapababa muna natin, 'di ba? Alam naming nasasagasaan yung mga magsasaka. That's the short term. Yeah. But what are the short-term implications of that kind of a strategy?
Well, I don't think po naman, no, merong conflict with that, no, because the producers themselves are consumers. Farmers are also consumers, and they would benefit from lower prices. And we have to be pragmatic, really. if we have to import, properly timed, manage it, then we should. And keep the availability stable. Because yun, even themselves, no, yung mga farmers, yung mga producers natin, sila rin naman po, consumers din naman yan kung tutuusin.
Pero dito kasi parang yung fluctuations ba ng supply ay napaka-marked, no? Parang parang nagkamali lang ng konti, delay lang ng konti sa importation, talagang grabe yung pag-angat ng presyo. Dahil kitang-kita mo yung kakulangan from the production side. Wala talagang sibuyas, or at least yan na nababalitaan kasi we never got around to figuring out exactly what happened to the onion, no? Kung ano talaga. But let's just assume nga na talagang, okay, so walang harvest. But it doesn't just happen with onion, even with rice. Konting delay sa importation, konting hoarding, taas-taas presyo, wala nang ma-produce. Masyadong, what do we do on that supply side? And you said nga that agriculture should be, diba? Kasi kalat yan yan yung pinakamadali sanang diba, alagaan during the pandemic, no?
Well, for one thing, yung Department of Agriculture needs to really step up, and we've seen many economists give recommendations, and also for the agricultural sector to be reorganized in such a way that hindi lang yung it has to look at the entire value chain from farm to fork, so to speak, no?
Yeah.
Yung also improving on productivity,
Right.
where it needs to spend, no? Also yung investment in technology, in farm-to-market roads. Ang dami naman akong nagsasabi niyan eh.
Oh, pero curious ako kung ano ba talaga yung sakit? Is it really the supply chain? Marami talagang produce, hindi lang nila madala sa merkado? Or is it really, mababa na talaga ang production?
Yun nga ho, we have to really also take stock of maybe perhaps on a provincial level, because I have read reports, no, that some provinces would have surpluses, in fact, no? And if we are able to match provinces that have surpluses with those who have shortages, no, at least siguro yun, no, internally we can mitigate that. No? But yun, you mentioned earlier that word hoarding, which I think, no, personally, I find unconscionable and disturbing to hear. No? And it would take really lot of political will, no, to address that. No? Because it's an internal problem. And someone was asking me about yung inflation being food-driven. Is it indicative of how well or how badly this economy is being managed? And this question, no, comes from a context where we are being compared with the world average. No? Mas mababa pa raw yung inflation natin with the world average. etc. But I keep on saying, no, we have to look at also, no, yung immediate neighbors natin, which are of course similarly situated to us. No? They seem to have done a better job in managing their inflation. No? And also, we have seen a 14-year historical high. And we see that, largely internal po yung natin. No? There are indications that we seem to be mismanaging somewhere, no, yung ating internal affairs, no, when it comes to the
And they seem to be
supply
doing a
of food.
better job of agricultural production, di ba?
Yes,
Or
yes.
buying from Vietnam, or buying from
Thailand.
Thailand, buying from Malaysia. Bakit ganun?
Well, yun nga po, no, in all humility, we have to really, if I may say so, I will be blunt, no, we copy what they're doing. And also
They
what
used to copy what we were doing. They used to come
tayo
here
nga.
to study from.
Yes.
Yeah.
In our schools.
long before I was born pa po yan. But I
Sige,
hear
Sir
that.
Percival. We believe you.
But yun, naririnig ko na, it's been a long lament. And tayo nga raw po nagtuturo eh. But now, nagkaroon ng change of fortune nga po na
Bakit
sila yung
nga
nag-ano
nagkagan? In
sa-
fact, during the first
Reversal eh,
Reversal
reversal
of
eh.
fortune.
During the first Marcos regime, in fact, they are touting that na for a while, we were actually exporting rice.
Oo.
Ay,
The first Marcos
Hindi
regime.
pa nga raw siya pinapak.
Hindi ka pa nga lang pinapanganak nun. Kaya,
ayon sa kwento naman po, I have read and heard stories lang din.
okay, Sir Percival.
Alright. Maraming salamat sa iyo, si Percival Sir Peña Reyes of the Ateneo of the
Maraming
Manila
salamat.
Economics Department. Thank
Thank you
Thank you.
for having me. It's a pleasure.
And we're starting up another conversation after this breather. Keep it here on One News.
Attorney Angelo Jimenez officially takes over as the new president of the University of the Philippines. Jimenez is the 22nd president of UP.
Employees of the University of the Philippines vow to remain steadfast in their push for academic freedom. They reiterated this on the 37th anniversary of the People Power Revolution.
Kaya itong academic freedom na ito, kahit sa laban ng Unyon, ay bahagi ng pagrespeto sa dignidad ng pag-eempleyo. Nagmamalaki ka ng academic freedom, pero binabasura mo yung empleyado mo, kawani at guro. Pagrespeto sa dignidad ng employment, napakahalaga.
The University of the Philippines has a new president, and we have him here on the program. Welcome to the Chiefs, UP President Angelo Jimenez.
Salamat sa pag-imbita.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Mayang gabi.
Congratulations.
Mayang gabi.
At mga
Salamat.
alumni po kami ng UP, and
Yes.
I know there are a lot of issues that are being tackled by the president of the UP, pero nung estudyante ko, natatandaan ko lang, nung nagpalit ng UP president, bigla nagkaroon ng tubig doon sa AS building.
Yes,
That
yes.
means a lot to students.
So yan ang,
That's
unang,
right,
yan
that's
ang
right.
unang tanong. May tubig ba sa lahat ng CR ng UP?
May tubig na.
Well, we'll just start with the general, since you're very new. Ano po yung overall program niya? Any priorities for UP under
Yes.
your watch?
Well, nasabi ko na, no, in just about 8 words. No? Number 1, research power. Number 2, learner-centered digital transformation and democratic access sa UP. Those are big terms,
Yes.
no? Those are big terms. And those are multi-term goals, no? It cannot possibly span just one president's 6-year term. However, I would say that the first priority would of course be organizational. I just organized the team. There's still some remaining, may mga natira pang mga appointments to be made. But I would really, coming from labor, I would really look at our systems, no? Especially yung mga delayed salary ng mga contractuals, ang hahaba, no? And I'm tracing where the bottlenecks are in the processes, no? So, lalo na sa accounting procedures ng CUs. Remember, no, I'm a systems president. The heavy lifting is done by the constituent universities, and we have 8 of them. So that's my concern. The other one is I want to reorganize the UP to fit its function. No? Napakabigat ng academic affairs, no? Lalo na yung president. That's almost 70% of the job. It's too much for anyone, no matter how strong. No? So I want to separate the vice president for academic affairs from research and innovation because I want research to go at a different speed. And then, of course, I want to create, if I could, no, a vice president for public engagement. And this public engagement would fit the third pillar of UP, which is public service. Una, of course, pillar is teaching.
Why do you say if I could?
Well, I have to I want to convince everyone because I really want to consult. And of course, that has to be approved by the Board of Regents. I'm sure they will.
Okay. Notwithstanding all of those priorities, I just want to get to one of the 3 points that you first outlined, the democratization
Yes.
of access in particular. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I ask it also in the context of finally we're having UPCAT again, if I understand
Yes,
that,
we are, on
correctly.
June.
But, and I also want to frame it by acknowledging that, you know, we were, inabutan pa kita sa
Yes, of
sa
course.
UP.
Nagsama tayo sa student council.
We were the student council together. But nung panahon pa lang na yun, sinasabi
Sinasabi natin.
na burgis na yung UP.
Totoo rin yan.
And-
Panahon pa namin ni Ami, sinasabi niya. Aminin mo. Di ba?
But that
Na yung car park ay punong-puno.
puro
But
lang.
notwithstanding all of
Reservation.
us saying that generation after generation and acknowledging it, that we were in a privileged position, you go to UP now and, it just keeps going down that route.
Yes.
So how do we...
There's
how
a
do we
difference,
develop
Robbie.
that?
I got your question. There's a difference. Sa atin, we want more people to be able to get into UP. That's democratic access, no? But two things has intervened. Number one, free education na, ha? Wala na yung baba tuition fee, libre na. No?
Right.
I have another question about that, but that's for a different topic because I don't believe in free education. If you want to ask me that, you can ask me that later on.
Sige,
But,
tanong na namin.
but yeah, yan. Now that free, ang question ngayon talaga is, I want UP to fulfill its public service function by engaging the SUCs so that we can improve the quality of education in other SUCs, particularly the centers of excellence, so that they can approximate or approach the level of quality of UP. The principle is you don't have to be in UP to avail of UP grade education. That is democratic access. Because if we just say that UP lang, padamihin, you will only increase the number of elites. What about the masses of students there?
Tama.
And meron tayong function. So I want to redefine the meaning of democratic access as not
Pero
over...
pasok ba yan sa charter mo?
Papasok yan.
Talaga? Sa UP?
We have a mission. Very clear sa function ng UP. You must take the lead in higher education. And I feel that we must do it
Di ba
on a
trabaho ng
program.
CHED yan?
Yes. But pero ang UP may independent charter yan, no?
Ayun na.
Yeah. So but the CHED chairman is still the chairman of the Board of
Pero ang
Regents.
bigat na ng pasanin most for the UP system. They worry about the entire
No.
SEU system.
No, Gab, and here comes technology. We are going to leverage technology. No? Simple lang naman yun, dalawa lang naman yun, no, in engagement natin. Number one is curriculum reforms. The other one is teaching reforms. Digital technology will enable us to do that. But we have to commit to that. No? So yung curricular reforms, kailangan talaga i-renew yan every time because hindi na tulad dati na a curriculum can be made and could probably last and become relevant for 10 years. With the fast pace of change today, ang obsolescence ng knowledge and technology and know-how ang bilis.
Sige, okay. But just so I don't get lost on, obviously, my question on the democratic access was admittedly specific to
UP.
access to entrance to UP.
Oh, kaya nga, scholarships,
Now, if we're going to say,
dorms.
magbe-benefit naman lahat ng SUC dito, is that to say na there's nothing to fix in the admissions in UP per se?
Specific tayo sa admission. Of course, we're trying to, within UP also, provide for means wherein students who qualify our standards can be had from different social and economic backgrounds. Pero totoo talaga yan.
Pero hindi nga ba yan yung original objective naman?
Yes. Pero ang problema talaga dyan is that to pass UP standards, you have to be in a good high school. Diba?
Totoo.
Kaya nga, meron tayo sa ating system ngayon, kasi it's technology enhanced now. We're going to spot, may algorithms yan. I don't expect to explain. Yung mga data scientists natin yun eh. Pagpapasok yan, pagmataas ang average pero low in English, merong magpa-flag yan. I-invite natin yan for a summer program before becoming a freshman. Kung medyo low sa math pero mataas sa'yo, nagpabasa pa rin, there are algorithms that can spot them. You'll be amazed at what data scientists can do.
John yun.
Meron yan.
Sa John mapupunta
Meron yan. Meron. Kasi arithmetic. pero
BS Math kami, Uya.
pero ang problema talaga, we cannot possibly cure the bigger ailment that affects the nation, and the solution is beyond UP. Yung PISA report ng OECD na lang. 9 out of 10 cannot read. World Bank studies, 79 countries surveyed. We were dead last on reading comprehension.
Yes.
15 years old. Math and what is the other one?
Science.
We were not dead last. We were second to the last.
Pero number 1 tayo sa bullying.
No, pero kaya yan, ano ba, parang that kind of thing requires a whole of society approach. Eh.
Yes.
Parang hindi kaya ng UP yun. Pero question yan, would you like to lower the standard just to accommodate? I'm not prepared to do that. No. So this has to be really a total approach.
Pero di ba even UP itself, I mean the quality of education within UP, of course I have no figures, no? Pero ang impression ng mga tao is, even within UP, bumababa. And we also see that kasi bumababa rin tayo sa rankings ng mga World University rankings.
Yes, yes.
Di ba?
Well,
so parang ang tanong nga is, parang UP itself hindi naman din nag-improve.
yes, I think all over the world because of COVID in particular, nagbaba talaga. No? I mean, there was a survey I read na we lost equivalent of 8 months worth of learning. No? 8 months, buong mundo, no? 8 months setback. Pero, alam ko yung pinutukoy mo, ano? Yung, I think times ba yun? From 400 to 500 tayo, biglang naging 800 na lang in a span of 2 years. Parang mahirap bumaba ng ganun ka-steep din. I initially look at it, it seems that we were not able to provide
Yung mga hinihingi.
yung mga enough information. Kasi talagang, I don't know how the others did it, but ako, I wouldn't believe na ganun kakabilis babagsak in 2 years lang. As a matter of fact, we have recovered in other surveys now, na correct na yun. But that's not the point. We have to accept talaga, no? That nag-deteriorate din talaga. And there could be other reasons, no? Many reasons. But for me, the fast changes in the world today makes our curriculum talaga. Ang pag-deteriorate niya, paging irrelevant niya, faster din. So, ang key niyan is how to create agile systems so that we can adapt to the new technology, new learning outcomes na gusto natin, and especially yung very 19th century or even medieval teacher-centered instruction. Now what we're trying to do is learner-centered instruction na talaga. No? But technology-enhanced. No? Ibig sabihin, there's so many... The digital technology now is so immersive, no? So engaging now. It's so powerful. I mean, napanood mo yung Game of Thrones, yung dragon, parang tunay na dragon na talaga, no? Talagang magaganoon ka, you cannot sleep. Gusto mo, ano? So, I mean, I'm talking about the entertainment industry, which is always advanced, no? Ina-adapt na lang na education. So, we really have to prepare for learning in the 21st century. And the learning in the 21st century is two things. Number one, it's lifelong learning. Kasi mabilis mag-obsolete. Kayo na lang, I think you have to learn new journalism technologies right now. Lifelong learning, at your pace learning. No? Yung second, yung immersive, yung you really engage, parang virtual reality using artificial intelligence.
Nag-artificial intelligence ka na yung reading comprehension nga natin
We do. Everything is either, even a cell phone is artificial intelligence here.
Hindi, paano yan? Because I want to go back to the democratization. Paano yan? Halimbawa you want to expand access to UP paano yun? Hindi nga nakakaintindi, hindi nga makabasa ng maayos. And, well, we have free education. You were saying you are not in favor of free education. Ano ba nag-i-impact nun sa atin?
No. Sabi ko, I am in favor of free education, but I keep telling the students there is no such thing as a free education. For every peso that was used to fund your education, there's 1 peso less that can be taken from medicines, from housing, from farmer support. Who may need it more than you. That is why, sabi ko sa kanila, your education is being paid for by the lives of others in terms of quality of life. So hindi libre. That's why I tell them, education is a right. Of course it is a right. But UP education, unfortunately, is a privilege.
Ito nga, Gigil, going back all the way to the time when we were in college and probably before that, the big debate then was socialization of
Yes. And it was a good idea.
Diba?
Socialized tayo, may mayaman, di mo
we won't resurface who was on which side, but the whole principle was, marami namang mayaman dito. Yung mas mayayaman, hayaan natin magbayad ng mas malaki. Pagkatapos yung talagang kailangan, hayaan natin ng free.
Talaga.
But now it's free.
I had reservations
how do you now get back to that principle that I get it? UP is also a symptom of the larger educational and social injustices in the country, di ba? And until then, we can't, alangan namang ibaba natin yung standards natin. But given that, I mean, what's the compromise? What's the system so that we don't just say, wala naman kaming choice, puro mayayaman ngayon yung mga estudyante. I mean, what's a middle ground here?
Alam mo, Rob, if we are going to think in terms of those concepts, hindi talaga mag-work. We really have to to jettison, to abandon old assumptions, no, na may mayaman, may hirap, paano natin i-equalize yun. Talagang inequality is always there. Ang principle naman of equality in the law is not absolute equality because that's impossible in reality. What we're pushing for is equal opportunity, di ba? Kaya mo ba dyan? Is the system open that anyone who's willing to work hard to achieve this objective can be rewarded? Pero ang ano ko lang is that we have to think, I have to repeat this, in the future of learning and its potential to provide universal education. Can you imagine? I'm advocating this, open data. Yung mga researchers natin, yung mga curriculum natin, mga teaching classes natin, I want master classes for UP. I want it available to SUCs. I want it available to... Ang gusto ko nga mag-enroll ka sa Davao, enroll ka sa UP Mindanao, in Baguio, gusto ko makaka-cross-enroll ka na easily in any campus And we will create master classes. Let's say, magaling na lecturer, si Randy David, can talk about, say, Sociology 101. Prepare ka ng very attractive digital platform where he can lecture. Anyone from the entire UP system or even from other SUCs can enroll in that class because we will share it. We want to share it. No? That's why we're strengthening our IT and our TBUP. Yung TBUP, meron tayo 4 na franchise. Pero hindi namin kayo kakalabanin.
Saka may partnership tayo dito sa...
No, we want to partner with everyone because it's a public TV station. But alam niyo naman siguro, no, yung at the time when we have terrestrial stations, digital format na parang hindi can survive na.
Hindi pa naman.
Hindi pa ba? So, maximize pa natin.
Pinuspone naman yung NTC ruling na dapat
Pero grabe ngayon, nakita mo sa YouTube, magbubukas ako, parang anyone can make their own TV.
Anybody can put up his own channel.
Balik lang ako doon, na I don't have a clear path to you now because we are thinking as things are moving, no? But the future of learning is going to be lifetime learning, technology-enhanced, learner-centered, and universal. We're going to look at this technology and its potential to afford universal education. Because if we are going to think about 19th century issues like access, inequality, mahihirapan talaga tayo niyan. Lalo na tayo, hindi pa naman tayo ganun kayaman. We don't have oil wherein it just gushes out dollars and then everyone can enjoy education. So we really have to understand our current world and how can we leverage technology. Alam mo, nakabasa ako ng interview kay Elon Musk. No? Sabi niya, everyone is now a cybernetic organism, cyborg. Why? Because of our smartphone. I can do large sums computing in my platform. I can press a button and coffee will come to me. Delivery. So we are not just enhanced physically, we are enhanced cognitively. Okay. Now, organizations, including your organizations, will not just be cybernetic organisms. You will be cybernetic collectives. All of us. Now, this presents a newfangled future which we are only now beginning to grasp its form and substance. This is actually a very exciting time. No? Ang tingin ko talaga, we're living in the shift in civilization.
How do you deal with this given that the budget is not growing as a matter of fact?
Totoo talaga yan. Totoo talaga yan.
So where are you going to get your funding?
Yeah, totoo yan. No? Yung underinvested talaga ang education sa Pilipinas. It's really underinvested and we need to put more budget because education is the root of everything, including better economy, better lives, better defense systems. No? So, tingnan mo yung national security, and I'm talking about national security in a larger sense, no? Not just defense. No? We have to really invest in education or we go bust. 9 out of 10 na nakabasa. Imagine 20 years from now. Babalik ako sa trabaho ko, labor attaché. They will all be working as menials to other families abroad who has done better. It's frightening. No, yung hindi makakabasa, 90%.
Kaya nga.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not making you feel sad. I'm not making you feel sad.
No, but how do you reconcile that? Kasi the way you describe it, you will need technology and
we will need technology. That cost, I know.
And if you're setting up a separate research.
Yes, we do want to research. There's another different strategy. It will be, but there will be strategies. What we will do is increase international linkages, increase collabs for research, increase collaboration for double degrees or common degrees, and we're doing that right now. Pero totoo yan, no? Kaya very important ang public diplomacy through the media, through UP, and I intend to do that. We have to convince our political, the political powers
Political
in the country.
establishment. Napaka-radical nyo daw. Lagi daw kayo nag-sacrifice. Wala daw kayong ganyan. Mag-rally na mag-rally.
Tsaka ano daw yan?
Wala tayong magawa.
Cradle of the woke.
Okay, ako hindi nga ako woke pero I'm just learning now. Kasi kakamali ako ng terms, nakakahiya.
But it does, I mean, speaking of yung mga aktivista and so on, anong image ng UP? Anong gusto mong image ng UP at ng UP student?
Alam mo, ganito yun eh. I want to promote pahinungod, no, patang service. Na I'm going to instruct.
That's the service program.
The service program. I wanted to revive it, but on steroids this time. I've already asked everyone, all UP units, you must engage your communities in a very disruptive way, in a sense na mabago natin ang buhay. No? And the reason I'm saying this is that ngayon, Robbie, pag sinabi mong UP, ang primary natin is honor excellence, di ba? Ang gusto ko talaga, after 6 years, magsisimula na magsabi ang mga tao. Tell me kung ano, I'm sentimental, but kung may dadaan taga-UP, taga-UP, may malasakit yung mga yan. And this is about public diplomacy. I will show them what UP is. I'm not gonna bother my time answering red tagging.
Okay.
Kasi unang-una program yun eh. Why should I do that? Why should I attack? I will only waste my energy. I'm going to cross neutral Belgium to avoid the Maginot Line. I'm sorry, that's a Germans lead to France, or maybe that's a good example. No, I'll do flanking movement by showing the people what UP is. And then UP kakampi sa tao, whether masa ka or hindi.
And now in the meantime, in real time, every single day, you have to take care of a lot of people.
Unfortunately,
we're talking about resources, but we're also talking about we're even talking about technology as well. All of that is exciting, granted.
It is exciting.
But in the meantime, kamusta ang professors? Kamusta ang human resource mo?
Yes. We're still the most endowed, no? Pero alam mo, hindi na ako nagsasalita ng UP number 1 sa Pilipinas with 20% of the budget of SUC. Pag hindi ka number 1, magsara ka na. No? Ang gusto ko ngayon, global referencing na how are we compared to the world. Irrelevant yun, di ba? If you give the 20% of the budget to another school, maybe sila ang maging number 1. No? So, we have to prove ourselves against the rest of the world. Pero totoo yan. Ngayon, magfo-focus talaga tayo sa teaching quality. Mag-shift tayo talaga dyan, Rob, no? Kasi, and not just because of the budget. The learners, the teacher-centered education, yung I will fill you up with knowledge, ganon, that has been there since the university was created in the late medieval age, has to go. It has to be learner-centered. No? Para bang, instead of filling an empty jar, we have to light a fire no, for the learner. And for that, education must be engaging, immersive, relevant. And it requires learning new pedagogical tools, or not just for young people, but for old people. No. So, I can only talk about general terms right now. Pero meron na tayo unang-una, we're trying to make our teachers as well very, very comfortable with technology. Alam mo naman, may mga...
Savvy na, no? Dapat internet savvy na.
Talaga. Hindi ka na talaga makakatulog ngayon kung hindi. Lalo na yung COVID.
Yeah.
Where we adapted online, synchronous or asynchronous. Wala talaga. The one thing that is a wonder is how we survived COVID. I mean, nandito pa tayo, we're still talking UP, we're still talking other universities. It was the worst lockdown the world has ever seen, except siguro in China yung nangyari ngayon, no? But the world has never experienced such a global pandemic. I don't know, past 6 years, the bubonic plague, it decimated 10% of, decimated Europe, decimated na pala 10% na yun, no? Decimated Europe. But this was so global because advances in technology is there. Transport and communication. 50 years ago, they said distance has been killed by transport technology. Today, the very idea of distance is being threatened by digital technology because of instant virtual reality. I mean, this is something that we can focus on because there are ways to attack a problem, no? And we have to be a little bit of a guerrilla to think about how to use limited resources to defeat larger problems. No? So, although I was talking about the threat to Philippine education, our future, I'm actually a very hopeful person. No? Now, we can But we just simply have to get our acts together, and that is actually the challenge.
Can you be more specific about
Yes, I wish I could be more specific.
Yeah, no, yung sa teaching,
As a teaching.
upgrading the teaching. Paano yun?
Oh,
Sino
alam mo-
who will teach the teachers?
The digital transformation I was talking about, no? Yun, yung lifetime learning, stackable learning, and stackable, ibig sabihin, I can get credentials, I can credit, and I can finish my degree in 10 years because I'm working, no? So may tinatawag silang micro credentials, pero stackable na. Yung sinasabi nilang ano ngayon, yung parang sa test na original na narinig mo na first 2 years, okay, meron ka ng qualification, certification. If you still continue, you can become an engineer, no? So you can just stack it at your own time. Pero ang challenge talaga is, you're right, no? I mean, we really have to focus on faculty development, particularly introducing yung digitalization, kasi dalawa yung component yan. First, you digitalize yung management systems mo, mga grading, submission, wala lang pila. The other important but quite neglected is digitalizing content. No? Yun, hindi ko ma-explain sa yung mga technical, no? Kasi mga IT yun, mga AI natin, they're doing it. I'm involved in, I wanted to produce digital content. I wanted to be able to deliver learning and using digital media, using technology.
Okay. President Jimenez, only because we have limited time, I do want to cover a few more topics lang. Let's talk about security.
Yes.
In the campus, nung lumabas yung mga candidates, there was a table that went out. Ito yung positions ng mga candidates and so on. One of the issues there was UPD&D accord. You stood out from all the other candidates, if I...
Why did I
because
stand out?
simplistically, the table says everybody was for, and nakalagay doon, Dr. Jimenez, at si Attorney Jimenez is a naka-red doon, no. I mean, ano bang status ng ang ating accords?
Robbie, I think you read the wrong ano, no? Na, I think the student paper was did not really capture what I was saying.
Fake news.
Yeah, no. Ako nagtaka nga rin ako ba? I said that. There's no way. I have been, even in my Facebook pages, I have been supporting. I am a signatory to the DILG Accord as a student region. As I explained to you beforehand, I pushed for it, I negotiated for it, and I signed it. And I will always support it. Right now, I am supporting the legislation of that DILG Accord as opposed to the DND Accord.
Okay.
I think the misunderstanding was I told the audience, don't use institutionalization of DND Accord. No. Because in Congress, you cannot say DND Accord. It's beyond DND. So you have to go beyond DND Accord kasi may DILG Accord eh. So entry of uniformed personnel in campus. I think that's what waylaid many people who were...
Klaro naman yun. No?
Oo,
Yun,
malinaw
klaro
naman.
yung-
Sabi ko, hindi yun. Kasi we're talking about uniformed personnel. It should include paramilitary forces. No? So, and then police. No? Bakit DND Accord lang institutionalize mo? Pati DILG.
Okay.
Oo.
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay, that's clear. Okay, President Gigil Jimenez, maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
salamat.
you.
Salamat po. Thank you for inviting me.
And that's the Chiefs this week. We hope it was discussed. We'll keep the conversation going. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
And I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez. We are One News, all sides, all the time. Thank you again.